got to get back there. You know, we have a good structure. You know, we've got a good plan. We've got to do the nuance around it. You know, what is a reasonable wage? What is a reasonable wage for an independent facilitator?
Ooh.
Why do people feel like they need independent facilitators, right? And I think it's because the program is too hard to get into. And so how do we fix that, right? And so we have a lot of work to do at the department. And Marlene will actually give you all the answers. I just set up all the questions for her. No pressure at all. I'll complain and then you solve it. The department's working on standards for financial management services companies and for independent facilitators. So that, we understand those roles in the system. They're also working on orientation, right? Because remember, the first thing you do is you go to orientation, and then you say, is this program for me? How would I use this program? But if the orientation doesn't provide you the information that you really need, then you're probably not going to be as successful. And so we need an orientation that is more comprehensive, and then we need additional modules for people to learn how to, frankly, be a boss. I mean, you're a boss now. Harvey, you're the customer. You're in charge. And so, but to be in charge, you have to learn how. And we have to provide people those resources so that they can be the boss. And so there's a lot of work to be done in our program. And I think it's all doable, right? We don't want to lose the self-determination program, because what we've got right now is a spectrum of services in 3 different models. And my vision is that people can go through those models as their lives require. And so at some points, you might want to be a traditional, have somebody else find your services for you. At another point in your life, you might want to be in participant-directed services, where you can choose your employee without all of the background, requirements related to pay. And then at other times, you're going to be an SDP, and you're going to live a really creative life if you do it right. I will tell you, another of my rainbow and puppy dog vision was that what we would do is people would do interesting, innovative things in SDPs, and we would learn about the services that people really need. Because the reality is, the traditional system does not offer the services that people need, right? Or they wouldn't be leaving it. So how do we find those services and create those in the traditional system? Enhance the service option. And we haven't really done that yet. But I think we can. So we're going to work on independent facilitator standards, FMS standards, orientation, how to be a boss. I just scrolled. What else are we going to do? And that's how we're going to keep the program. And so I am really excited about the future. I don't want anything to happen to the program because of misuse. And so I think we all can kind of come together to make sure that that misuse is not happening. And with that, I will turn it over to Marlene to tell you how she's going to do all of that work. I get to just be like, we need that. And then Marlene has to go invent it. See why my job's better than hers.
Go Irene! Yay! Looking good!
With no pressure at all, I will go second. So, thank you for having me today. My name is Marlene Morales, and like you mentioned, I am the branch manager for the self-determination program here at the Department of, or not here, but at the Department of Developmental Services. And so it's been really nice to catch up with a lot of you today, and so thank you for taking the time to share with me how things are going. Prior to that, just a lot of you through the ombudsperson's office or just at my time at the regional center. So with that being said, Katie did talk about some of the things that we are working on. So the main goal for my time during this panel is to really go over some of the things that the department will be doing in collaboration with you as a community on next changes for the program. And I don't like to look at my laptop, except that I wasn't able to print out my talking points, and so I'm going to do my best. That's not the way that I typically do it. So in regards to it, I really enjoy the self-determination program, which is why I'm here, and I really want to work with all of you in regards to what is working, and what are those things that we can work together on modifying and changing and making for the better, right? And so Katie touched on most of the points that I'm going to talk about today. So things that you can expect in the near future for changes. And so a theme of what you will hear are what changes we are going to do, and a big part of that is standardization. So there are over 8,000 participants as of October 31st in the self-determination program.
Yeah! 8,000?
To give you an exact number, as of October 31st, we have 8,169 individuals who have selected to receive their services through the self-determination program. That is a growth of 243 individuals who selected to use their services from traditional to self-determination just in the month of October. So very exciting, and maybe some of you are part of those 243 individuals, right? And so as the program grows, the department has been able to hear from you that there is a lot of variability in regard to the implementation of the program across the state. And so as a department, we are looking to standardize certain practices with the goal of doing all of this in a person-centered approach. So one of the changes that you can expect is the development of a standardized process and procedure for the development of individual budgets and spending plans nationwide. So many of you that I've talked to today, or just over the years, we've all heard from you that there is a variability, even from financial management service vendor to financial management service vendor, from regional center to potentially your independent facilitator. And that's something that's not necessarily working. And wow, okay, I'm going to try and speak faster. I just got a warning from it. Okay, so those are those things. We really want to work with you. Part of the recent assembly bill that passed in July really tasked the department with standardizing 5 different areas. And one of those big core areas are individual budgets, as well as spending plans, and we really want to work with you in order to get that accomplished. And so the goal for that is really consistency. We want to make sure that no matter where you live in the state, that you receive the same support, that you receive the same answer in regards to what a budget and a spending plan looks like. And so, again, this will all happen with partnership with you, right? And another update that you can expect is an update to the self-determination program orientation. As you know, we really want to help increase the knowledge that is provided to individuals, the information that they receive, because this is a key component of starting in the self-determination program. I'm not trying to give you my back, I apologize. And so we really want to be able to update the orientation, and we are working in partnership with our contractor, the State Council, in regards to updating the orientation to have the information that over the years you've provided for us that could be additional use to receive more guidance on. And so, again, the goal is for consistency. As you are interested in the self-determination program, that you receive the same information. It can go from what is traditional services versus participant-directed and self-determination to what are the 3 different types of models in SDP, right? And so we're really wanting to be proactive in regards to the information that you receive as you complete the orientation. And again, the key component of that is really understanding the program rules and requirements, and also available resources that may be available to you. Another area that Katie briefly talked about is the standardization of the financial management service vendor expectations are so important. Right now, we have about 30 different financial management service vendors, and I think some of them are here today, right, that I've had the opportunity to talk to. And so a big part of it is we want to make sure that what you are experiencing is maybe a variety in customer service, but that you're not needing to go to a different FMS because they'll pay for this, but this one won't pay for that. Right? We want to make sure that there's consistency across the experience that you have. And we understand that this is, again, a key component of the self-determination program experience, right? And so a big part of what we've heard from a lot of you, just regional, not just regional centers, you as a community, even FMS providers, everybody really on wanting additional guidance in regards to the roles and responsibilities of the financial management service vendors. So we will be working with you on that. And we're also working, Katie mentioned the development of standards for independent facilitators. One of the things is we didn't anticipate that the program would be so complicated, right? And one of the things that we want, now that we are aware of what is happening, we really want to make sure, again, that the experience is you understand what is to be expected of your independent facilitator, and then that you're making those choices of what customization do you want to receive. Maybe you need help with this and not that, but being able to have a clear idea and expectation of what they are, what services they are to deliver to you. And so with that, also, we really want to work together with you to protect the program. And with that, we really want to make sure that we collaborate with you, that we hear from you. We are really grateful for the times that you engage with us and that you join us. We're grateful for Judy having us here today. And anytime that you join us for community engagement, we're more than happy to hear from you and hear solutions and what are those things that are happening for you on a day-to-day basis that are going to help guide where we need to go in some of these topic areas. And so I'm just very grateful for the opportunity and being able to collaborate. And in summary, those are some of the things that you can see coming in these next, I mean, we're in 2026 pretty much around the corner, right? So, but yes, I'm just, I think we'll go ahead and pass it over
Could you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. Thank you for helping. Hi everyone, I'm Vivos. I'm a senior attorney with the Office of Client Rights Advocacy, and I just celebrated my 20-year anniversary with OCRA. So Katie, before this role, I was the CRA for 14 years at North Allen County Regional Center, and then I led the outreach team for 5 years, and now I'm doing cases again, so I've kind of been everywhere. And so I'm here today to kind of talk about what is going on in the advocacy realm. And I don't know how this came to be, but I've come to be OCRA's SDP go-to person. I did not know that that was going to happen, so I'm the person that they contact if they have questions about SDP. And I just wanted to highlight what are the main issues that people are seeing. And I would say the main issue that I'm seeing is delays in approval of services, budgets, spending plans, things like that. I should also say I'm in self-determination myself. I'm entering my 5th year, and I have to say very directly, if I did not have an independent facilitator, I would have dropped out. It was so impossible that I just like, and I know what the laws are, and it was still just impossible for me to do it. So, it shouldn't be that hard. If it's hard for me, I can only imagine what it's like for people that don't have the knowledge that I have. So, like I said, the main issue that I'm seeing are delays. Another thing that we're seeing is I was looking at the recent changes, the cost effectiveness that is now in the new trailer bill. And I know that in traditional cost effectiveness is always something that's considered. But my concern is if we're gonna now be adding cost effectiveness, and that's gonna have to be something that the participant is gonna have to consider. How are they gonna figure out whether or not a service is cost effective? I mean, it's a little bit easier when you're dealing with vendors in the traditional system, but is the obligation now going to be clients have to go and investigate 5 people and then figure out which one is the most cost effective? And that just is adding another task for consumers that they have to do, and if you don't have the support, it can be really difficult. I want to say one other thing that I've seen a lot are people that want to be in the sole employer model, and the issues they're having is, okay, like Katie said, you want to be your own boss, but if you're your own boss, then the issues are if you have employees and if you have more than 5, then other obligations are triggered, like sexual harassment training, things like that. And then, how does a consumer deal with those really real legal challenges? And I know I've heard people say, oh, well, your FMS should help you with that. And then the consumers call the FMS and say, I need help with how am I going to deal with these legal requirements. And what I've heard is that for a lot of the FMSs, they just send them like a 1-page cheat sheet, and that's all they get. And it's like, well, that doesn't help me. And it's like, so that really isn't a viable option for a lot of people if they want to be sole employers. So that's another thing that I'm seeing a lot. And I'm looking here at the language, and there's a part of the trailer bill, and it says a regional center shall not prohibit the purchase of any service or support that is otherwise available under the section. And it's saying that the regional center shouldn't have that right. How is that actually working in practice? So those are things that just pop out at me in terms of like what I'm seeing on the ground. It's really benefited me personally, but I don't think I'm a good representative because of my knowledge. And so OCOA is getting a lot of calls about SDP, but it's mainly those issues that I raised, and it's kind of stressful that the standardization won't be happening until 2017, I think, but that's, at least it's happening. So that's a little bit of a summary of what we're seeing on the ground. Thanks.
Hello, everybody. I come from a different perspective. And it's great to hear from those that are in government, in the system. What I want to do is provide a little bit of context and history. Context and history is that my son, who is now 30, was one of the participants in the Kern Regional Center pilot that started in 2000. So he's been in self-determination for 25 years. That was an interesting time because this pilot, which was something that was set up for 5 regional centers throughout the state, was intended to be a 3-year program that actually lasted 20. before the rollout 5 years ago of the SDP. It wasn't Wild West, and it wasn't a free-for-all, but we had no rules. It was this thing called self-determination, and we were invited to participate. There were a total of 150 participants and families throughout the state during that period. And as I recall, Tri-Counties, which is Santa Barbara area, San Diego, East LA, Redwood Coast, which is way at the top of the state by Oregon, at the Oregon border, and then Kern Regional Center, which is headquartered in Bakersfield, but which actually its catchment area goes all the way up the eastern side of the Sierra, and I happen to live in Mammoth, which is a ski resort and very far away from everything. And so the idea, it was, at least in ours, was that we would test this idea in an isolated rural setting that had limited opportunities, limited services, but people with the same disabilities, ID and DD, as everywhere else in the state. So I'll tell you, what I've heard from the three panelists thus far is that the program is and has become very complex. True, it was really simple back then, really simple, and I understand that there were fewer people, not 8,000, just 36 in our pilot, but essentially what we wanted to do was to devise a program that changed the way that we thought about the delivery of services, not just the delivery of services, and we did that by thinking in terms of what was most appropriate to live, for a person to live his or her best life, right? And they've already told me I've got only 5 minutes. But you know, I've been at this for 25 years. So, sure enough, the law was passed in 2013. It's been 12 years. A number of people in this room developed the waiver application to get the federal money to make this thing work. A number of people in this room developed the structure, or at least advised the department on the development of the structure of the program and the implementation of the self-determination law. And here we are with something that is much different than what we anticipated and thought it would be all those years ago. And so I remain very optimistic about self-determination, and it's simply because it is a different concept. Those that are in it know this. And you measure the outcome not by the amount of money that you're spending. By the way, we didn't get into the program so we would have a bunch of money to spend on things that we would otherwise buy for our son. We got into the program because we weren't receiving services that had anything to do with his disability. And so when you are looking at something that is not outcome-based, but in fact is simply service-based, irrespective of what the service produces, it doesn't work. It doesn't work in real life. And so, as you can imagine, we've been very happy for 25 years and fortunate, really fortunate that we've been able to be in this program, and our lives have materially, immeasurably changed as a result of it. So we haven't gotten to the outcomes that we have wanted to in the program because it has become hard to get into. It is hard to transition from year to year. It is difficult because we've got a structure in which, I think as Katie said, we didn't anticipate that everybody would have an independent facilitator. We actually thought the service coordinators would do, for at least half the people, would do what the independent facilitators are doing. But that doesn't mean that the concept, the idea of self-determination is a bad idea. And so we've gone from infancy to, through some growing pains. We're not at midlife, but we're in the adolescent stage now, which is a really difficult stage, as anybody who's ever had children knows. But the principles remain the same, and that is freedom and choice. And to the extent that we're able to simplify the program. I don't know whether that really means that standardization is going to result in simplicity, but I do know that the focus now in keeping with the principles is to say, all right, we're doing it this way. It's a little different from the rest of the country. We are really fortunate, but it can no longer, it's not sustainable if people are having a hard time getting in, having a hard time staying in. By the way, people do stay in, even though it's a hard time, because they're happier.
Yeah.
And the best measure of the success of a program is happiness. The problem is that government measures outcomes based upon the amount of money that is spent. And so there's pressure, everybody. There's pressure because budgets have gotten higher. And so one of the principles of self-determination is responsibility, translation, accountability. That means that you don't simply say, well, hey, this is a great program, I can get more money to buy stuff or to get services or get more staff or pay people more money or whatever it is that you might want to do or need to do. Instead, it is, how is it going to help me and my family, because it is a family thing, we all know that, live a better life, our best life. The disability doesn't go away, CP doesn't go away, autism doesn't go away, but the way that we're able to manage in life can be materially changed. And so I remain optimistic. As the co-chair of the Self-Determination Advisory Committee, as you can imagine, I hear all the complaints, I hear everything that these guys have talked about. I worry about the legislation or the new directive with respect to large budgets, but I still have great confidence and optimism that the program, if we continue to fight, because it's hard when something good is worth keeping, and when something's typically good, it means that you have to work hard to get it and to keep it. So, what are we? We're pioneers, right? We're at the forefront. No, you guys are pioneers. But no, really, we all are. Everybody in this room who's in, because 8,000 is not very many when you've got 400,000 people in the system. And in my view, it hasn't. The pace has not been as quick or strong to get people in as I would have anticipated and what we thought all those years ago. But it doesn't mean that we shouldn't continue it. And I don't see cause for pessimism. I see people on this panel who are in the government who are of the same mind that I am. I don't have any power. I don't have any authority. I don't write the checks. All I can really do is advocate for something that I think is good for everybody who wants to be in it. And if we have that attitude, it is going to continue. And every single addition, one person at a time, makes it more realistic that the program is not going to go away. So for those who want in, keep at it. There are many of us who will take your calls and your emails and your suggestions because we want to help you. And for those who are in it and are still struggling, consider it a fight that is worth that is worth waging. Thank you.
Amen.
So we had a similar conference, much smaller, in Oakland. And I literally, as I was listening to this same set of speakers, I came up with this idea, which I'm going to do again today. And that is I'm going to spend, I only gave myself 5 minutes. They all got more, but 2.5 minutes, I'm going to agree with the concerns of DDS, and 2.5 minutes, I'm going to challenge them about why things aren't getting better. All right, so clock me for 2.5 minutes. Okay, remember that one of the 5 principles is responsibility. And I'll tell you some of my concerns that I know is shared by DDS and many regional centers. Having only family in your spending plan is a very bad idea. It is a bad idea because you are not going to live forever, and you need to have other people who are part of the participant circle of support. It's also because we should be the parents. We should not be the employees. I understand that there are many families that need to have family members in the spending plan, and I get that, and that's okay. But it shouldn't be the only people in this person's life. It's a very bad idea. Remember that parents are too close and you don't have the emotional distance sometimes. I also have, how many of you are independent facilitators out here?
Oh, nice.
A lot of you. I have a lot of concerns about you. A lot of concerns about you. So to the participants, if you meet an IF who says to you, I'm gonna get you a really big budget, don't you worry, I'm gonna get you a big budget, walk in the other direction. Do not choose an independent facilitator because they're promising you money. You pick an independent facilitator because they understand your community, meaning the area you live in, they understand the individual, they can be unbiased and independent. And they're experienced. Do not go and pay an independent facilitator $125 a month if they've never done a person-centered plan before. And all of you IFs out there, stop charging so much. I mean, you're eating into people's very limited budgets, which they could be spending on paying staff more. Because staff really need to get paid more. We all know this in the traditional system too. I can have more concerns. Okay, I also have concerns that people are buying too much stuff. The original reason we did the self-determination program was not for people to buy things that you would normally be buying for your child or for yourself. So, okay, I have to wrap up, so that means I have to stop agreeing with you. Okay, so, regional centers. Who here works for a regional center? Oh, wow, we don't have a lot of you. Thank you, Westside Regional Center, for being awesome. They brought their whole SDP team, but there's not a lot of others. And regional centers are putting up huge barriers. They have been problems in many parts of the state. They are inconsistent. Even within their own regional center, you will get more than one answer depending on who you're talking to. And DDS isn't doing enough to fix the problems. They are focusing on the things that we as family members and participants are doing wrong, and not enough time focusing on what regional centers and themselves are doing wrong. Their directives that they put out are vague sometimes or not understandable, and what happens is that regional centers make the shit up. If they can't figure out what they're supposed to do, they're just gonna make it up. There are so many areas where DDS has not even gotten involved yet, but they're required by law, a law that we hope to get passed, to create timelines. Regional centers should not be taking 3 months to make a $5 change to a spending. I also want to say that I know you had mentioned, Katie, that the original puppy idea was that we would do a lot of innovative things. There are some amazing innovative things out there happening. I hear the stories all the time. Books getting published by Beth's son, like creating businesses, getting new jobs. My son moving out of my house. And Rick's son moving out of his house. Huge things. Amazing stuff happening. The self-determination program is not just a life changer for my son, for Davis Wood, but also it's a system changer. The traditional system is having to change because of the pressures we're putting on it by going into the SDP. Finally, let's talk about the traditional system. Right now, DDS is spending a whole lot of attention looking at SDP and the problems that are in there. How many of you used to be in the traditional system? You should all raise your hand. How many of you had serious problems with the way the traditional system was functioning? I saw corruption. I had a person who worked with my son, paid for by the regional center, who hit my son in front of me, still working in the field. We see abuse. We see people dying in traditional programs. And the traditional program continues to function. So let's start paying attention to where 99% of regional center clients are, which is the traditional system, and let's let us break down the barriers, and let's let the SDP participants do the innovative things and change lives and change systems. Thank you.
How much time do we have for questions? 12 minutes. All right, can you do let's do it.
Yeah.
All right.
So microphones will come to you when you raise your hand. So you call me.
All right. All right, let's start with Beth again to tradition.
Here you go.
You're not easy to use.
No, I know. So I want to say two things. One, very positive. I really want to thank you, Marlene, for how you are taking on your role. You were one of the people that helped my son get in self-determination 4.5 years ago when you were working at Orange County. So you've been with us, our family, literally from the beginning. You're really listening to us, and we can see that. And so I just want to encourage you to keep doing that, even if Katie tells you no. Because we depend on you to hear our voice at the same level as DDS listens to the regional centers. You are our person, okay? So please keep doing what you did. That last directive is a perfect example. The first cut was horrible. Anybody who had living on their own would have shown as abuse to be reviewed. You know, it changed based on you listening to us. So I really appreciate that. The second point I want to make, and it's pretty much what Judy and I have kind of had a private conversation about, is I want DDS to stop saying the program's being abused. If you see a place where you've put a policy in place and someone has figured out how to go around that, that's abuse. Get them, fire them, kick them out of the program. What you're talking about is the variability that comes from the ambiguity of the lack of process and guidelines and standardization. And as a family member, I am sick and tired of being told, hey, this program's at risk. I am 72, I'm going to die. My son is 34, he needs this program forever. So stop putting us on lists as possible abuse. If you think it shouldn't be a family member, put out a directive. Stop making judgments about how people are doing what they're doing. Thank you very much.
Judy, I love you dearly, but the rate should be dictated by a number. Some of us deserve to make $125 an hour. I think what needs to be looked at is the efficiency of that person's work, because I do know people who I've trained who are charging $250 an hour, and maybe that should be looked at. And more so, the percentage of the budget. For somebody who has a $100,000 budget and spending $10,000 on IF, that doesn't sound right to me. But somebody who has a $500,000 budget spending $6,000 on an IF, even at $125 an hour, shows efficiency. That's first. Secondly, I have to concur because you said exactly what I was going to say. We keep hearing about these cases where there's a grandma who sleeps overnight, makes $150 an hour babysitting their grandkid. You know what, you're right, that's something that a grandparent should do anyway. I hope one day I have that opportunity. Let's find those people and let's put an end to the abuse so the rest of us can move on with everything else that we need to get done. Because we do want to be creative and we do want to get our family members and our loved ones and our clients jobs. We don't want them sitting at home doing nothing. And so this program gives them that opportunity. Just wanted to put that out there.
I just need this to be addressed. Us as parents, we deal with people who are chronically ill, don't have safe spaces. But when we are now part of SDP and some of us were stopped. I could not complete my career because my child's needs were so critical. I couldn't even hold a job. But now, because I'm charging for what I could potentially do, is now it seems like, oh, now you're profiting out of my child. I'm not profiting out of my child. There is no safe person to provide the level of care that my child needs. There's people that left their professional jobs to become IF. There's people that have done the work. And we deserve to have the dignity. I do not have the privilege of being non-white. I have education, I'm bilingual, but that has not stopped me. I am tired of hearing that us as parents being in the spending plans or making money through SDP, it's seen as something negative. Excuse me, we are the professionals, we've been working with their children, and we are the people that need to show with money how much it really costs to take care of our loved ones, because there's people that will not give them dignity. We need people to understand that this is a job that requires money, not pennies, but the money, because when I'm not here, nobody's gonna do my work with the level of care and giving my child dignity for $15 an hour. And now, if I charge more, it's not that I'm taking away from the system. I'm showing you right now, right here, how much it will cost. And there is dignity on that too. Thank you.
So I just want to quickly respond. I do believe parents should be paid for this. If you interpreted that I was saying parents shouldn't be paid for this, I do believe parents should and could and can be paid. It's absolutely allowable. But you just said, when I'm gone, what's going to happen? When you're gone, what's going to happen? If you are the sole provider of care for your child, what's going to happen when you're gone? And that's why you have to hire other people that you train, because you're the expert. You have the skills. You have to do this. Like, I fully trust my son's staff to care for him like I would care for him, because I have trained them and I watch them. I have cameras watching them. I have notes being taken every day. So I'm just telling you, as parents, doing it on your own, having everybody in the family being the caregivers, it's not a long-term strategy that's going to work for you. That's what I'm trying to say.
Hi, thank you all for sharing and for advocating and for creating this program. One of the biggest concerns, and we are in the midst of going into the program. We were on the waiting list years ago, didn't get in, went through the traditional system, absolutely saw a lot of fraud and abuse. And I second what you said, Judy. DDS, please focus a lot of attention in that realm. So we are in it now, and my biggest concern back years ago when we were first so excited about this is because of the choice and freedom, Rick, that you talked about. That is being taken away by being standardized. We're told, that we are, that the innovation is what I loved, what excited us, because we knew we could think outside the box. As the last conference you had one, think outside the box. We're not able to think outside the box. When we bring things up to our regional center service coordinator, nope, we don't pay for that. Nope, we don't pay for that. Nope, we don't pay for that. That is not thinking outside the box. That is not being innovative or forward thinking. We have to give flexibility. I absolutely agree there needs to be oversight and transparency for people to make sure they are not abusing the system. I'm well aware of those things. I know, people spent money on kitchens and all this stuff that was insane. However, there are other ways to do things than just make blanket rules. I just heard, like last week, that that regional center is no longer under SDP going to approve any sort of typing or facilitated communication support because it's not an approved recognized under the Speech and Language Therapy Association or something, which is insanity. There are people who communicate that use typing to communicate. So please, when you're thinking about all of these things, please ensure that you keep the creativity, you keep the choice, and you keep the freedom and the innovation, and we work together to figure out how to make sure there is oversight, but there is that flexibility. Thank you.
If I can speak to that, really good comments. Let me say this. So when we were, I was part of ability and standardization. I knew in a pilot of 36 people that we were going to have standardization, that we didn't have them because we didn't need it because there were only 36 people. And how we resolve that tension is, I think, going to be critical to the outcome of what you've just described, which is, are we really going to have freedom of choice and control if there is standardization? So we're thinking about that stuff. And I think that there are many people in this room, including those on this panel, that are going to be addressing that very issue or concept, and that is to try to resolve or lessen that tension between the two. Your point is really well taken. What good is self-determination if it looks like the traditional system? The old boss is the same as the new boss. And so I get it, and I appreciate it because it's real.
Yeah, this is really more of a comment. I am an SDP participant. I'm in my 3rd year. The program, has completely changed my life. I think that there's huge fraud in the traditional model. My SLS agency would bill for 100% of my hours every single month, and maybe 50% of those hours were covered. I was often left without care. I was never hit or anything like that, but I certainly was not getting my needs met. I was spending my entire paycheck on eating out. I was begging the regional center to assign me a social worker so that I can get on SDP. And now my life is completely unrecognizable. I don't even have to think about stuff like that. It's what do I want to do with my hours, not how do I meet my basic needs today and not die, which is basically what I had to do for years while holding down a full-time job. So the program is amazing. If you're thinking about it, it's totally worth it. I'm so passionate about it. I've started a business and I've become, along with my business partner, an independent facilitator. We'd be happy to help you guys out, especially if you're a disabled adult who lives alone. But what I also wanted to say is we haven't really talked much about FMS companies, and there's a lot of issues with that. I've had, issues around them not really understanding policies, making decisions that really support their own financial expediency, policies that support their streamlining, their bookkeeping, and don't make any sense for the realities, for example, of hiring care. Like a lot of companies have a policy of not leaving a credit card on file. Well, if you want to go on the internet and you want to advertise that you're trying to hire caregivers, almost all of those websites will require you to put a credit card on file. So that really limits how much you can hire people, even though you're paying this great wage. And you have this program where that's the very point of the program. And there's a lot of things like that where really the regional centers are very afraid to stand up to them because they need these companies and they're independent companies. So their response is always, well, we can't do anything, they're an independent company, but they are working within this program. And there does need to be more significant oversight for them so that they're working in the service of the participants that they serve and not only in the services of their business interests. And those were my comments. Thank you very much.
Those are excellent comments. And I want to thank our wonderful panel. Thank you all for being here today. And you all should know that Marlene is literally on every single session. So you will get a chance to hear more from Marlene as well as Rick's on some panels. So we are now going to give you about maybe 7 minutes to get to your breakout sessions. There are 2 sets of breakout sessions, including one exclusively in Korean and one exclusively in Spanish. You are able to move you can go to more than one breakout session if there's more than one thing you want to go. So we'll see you all back here at 4 o'clock.